Welcome to 8 Cubes. We are back with the regular hosting duo of myself and Lambi series. You're watching this on Lambi's channel. Make sure you give a follow, like, subscribe, all of those nice little things that you can do for us. Lambi, let's talk about the biggest news in Marvel Snap, the saddest news in Marvel Snap. Rest in peace to America Chavez. So now America Chavez, gone from, her effect is gone, her stat line is gone, from being the deck thinning 6/9 all the way to a 2/3 that just buffs the next card in your deck by 2 points. I know she was your favorite card in the game. Would you like to give a eulogy?
Right, so we actually did a 1 minute of silence memorial service on my stream the other day to commemorate the fact, well, not commemorate, to honor what Chavez has done for us in the past. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no other effect, right? Like Chavez, she was a deck thinning. She was like staple in so many different decks just for consistency's sake. So now, what do we do with Chavez? Like I've tried playing the new Chavez at 2/3.
Hmm.
I found like one, like she used to be in like 90% of the decks. Now she's like in one deck that I can see myself playing, which is like I guess some like Shaw buff deck
Yeah.
thing like that has a brood as well, because sometimes you high roll. But yeah, no, I think getting rid of her her old effect is good and bad at the same time. I think the bad part is obviously we lose consistency. The good part, which I mentioned I think in another one of our old videos, is that I guess now the new normal is no Chavez. So the new normal is
Yes.
playing actual 12 playable sort of cards in your deck, right? So many decks like discard Loki, you can name it. Like they have to find a new best auto include card, which was obviously Chavez in the past. So now I don't think anyone has really found that new auto include card yet, especially for something like this card, right? Like your consistency
Yeah.
is so hurt without Chavez. So yeah, I'm curious to see like how this pans out. But like I can safely say that Chavez is currently nowhere as represented as how she was in the past, because the effect is practically a different thing.
So the thing I think about a lot with regards to the Chavez change is when you think about what Destroy used to be before X23, it was this very linear deck that
Mhm.
ran Chavez because it needed to get very specific cards. And then after X23 came out, it was like, oh, wait, because we have these multiple options, we don't actually need to run the Chavez anymore. And I think if I'm second dinner, my goal is to give every one of these archetypes an X23. Like that would be, I'd be in the lab. Like, how do I give discard an X23?
Yeah.
How do I give it that card? Because I personally feel like several archetypes got significantly worse with this. And I really want them to be able to have that X23 moment where they get that new card and suddenly like Destroy has been a viable deck ever since. It has been completely fine ever since. And I really want that to happen for decks like Discard, for decks like Loki, although I think Loki's probably going to be fine, but like bounce stuff ends up getting worse. One thing that does strike me though about the Loki decks is they already was this tension between Rogue and Shang-Chi and Chavez in your Loki deck, right? And now that tension is a little bit alleviated. I do think there's going to be room to play around that might make the Loki deck just as strong as it used to be. But it'll require becoming a more balanced force, and I worry that it might get overtaken by something like Darkhawk Bounce, which has just sort of much easier adaptation to life without Chavez. Yeah, it wanted Chavez because of all the stuff it did, but like it's got a little more redundancy than a deck that just needs, Collector, Loki, Werewolf, and the rest of the deck is air. And I think that that is kind of the thing that's got me thinking right now. That said, new Chavez, I think she might be a little better than you think, but yeah, I pretty much only play her in Shaw. So let's talk about Shaw. What you got for me?
Right, so I played this card quite a lot, like on its release, because it's one of those cards that when you look at it, right, you just know it's definitely not it's not a Loki, it's not a pre-nerf Elsa. It's like maybe close to Miss Marvel, but after testing it's a bit worse. Okay, but like I feel the thing about Shaw is that I feel that this card you know how people every time they release a 3-cost card, SD releases a new 3-cost card, and there's like, oh, surfer
Yeah.
card because it's 3 cost.
Yeah.
Like I
Yes.
get it, and it's usually not the case, right? Like you don't have to play a gladiator in a surfer deck just because it's a gladiator that's a 3
Yeah.
cost. But like for Shaw, it's
Yes.
very different, because for Shaw, all the synergies are in the surfer deck. Like it's natural
Yes.
synergies, right? Like the namesake of the surfer deck, the surfer benefits Shaw, Brood plus Forge benefits Shaw. Heck, the new
Hmm.
Chavez actually benefits Shaw because, like, 2 into 3, that kind of thing. So I feel like Shaw is one of the first cards that has been released in a very long time that, like, literally is natural fit into the Surfer deck. I've tried playing Shaw in like non-Surfer shells. I've tried like Shuri Kitty with Shaw. It just felt a bit weird. Like I've actually tried it.
Yeah.
On that note, Kitty Pride back at 1 power is a good thing. I think rightfully so. But anyway, back to Shaw. I think this card is, like, in the last few months, one of the most balanced pass cards we've had in a while, and I think it's for good reason as well. I don't think we really needed another super broken bastard like battle pass card. This one is just like kind of fair. Having said that though, I think Shaw in the Surfer that actually does give it quite a bit of a boost because, like, it's like very easy to get it to 3-8, right? With Surfer it's a 3-8. With any other buff like a Forge it's a 3-12. With a Nova it's a 3-11. No, plus 3 basically.
Yes.
Yeah, 3 4
Yes.
plus,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
3 4
Quick
plus
math.
3
You
basically.
got there.
Yeah, but like, yeah, so it fits really well in a but it's only been like what 1 day since we're recording this right
Yeah.
now. So maybe there might be more places to play Shaw, but like for now, I think this card is just fine. Like maybe once the hype dies down, we'll see it being played a lot less, and Surfer maybe being played like in other shells, but like in other decks. But like for now, Shaw is just okay. I don't think I have much more to say, but I think it's just an okay card that is perfect in Surfer.
I just wanted to say I think you're being disrespectful to Miss Marvel when you say like Shaw is even in range of her.
Okay.
Like Miss Marvel is one of the strongest cards in Marvel Snap. Like she is so damn good. I like if that is a 415 that you're talking about with very little effort, right? You're not doing other things to make her a 415. You're just playing cards that you would already play. Like you make like maybe one sacrifice of like, oh, I can't put my Jeff in this lane. Like that's really all you're losing when you play her. Whereas like with Shaw, you have to use other cards to make him good.
That's
And that is
true.
a much tougher ask, in my opinion. Miss Marvel is closer to Loki and Elsa than she is to Shaw. Like Shaw is not in the same realm of that. That said, I agree. Like I only really see Shaw working in Surfer. I don't really see him working anywhere else. And I think even in Surfer, it's like the Surfer decks that I have had success with have been, broodless Surfer
Mm-hmm.
decks. And so it's like because Werewolf is so strong, I basically think Shaw's number one problem is that in every deck he competes with Werewolf, and Werewolf is a better card.
Yes.
And I think that's mainly my worry with Shaw. In Surfer, you end up running both, but I'm not sure you should. And so it puts you in this very awkward situation because all the cards that are good with Shaw are good with Brood, except those cards are good with Werewolf, but Brood is not good with Werewolf. And so you end up with like you have to pick two of the three or just run all three and accept that it's going to be weird some of the time, which is pretty much what I've been doing. It's not just a like okay card, it's a fairly awkwardly positioned one in the archetype that it works in.
Yeah, I just want to add two more things. So I think firstly, I think
Yeah.
after you mentioned the Miss Marvel thing, I kind of agree as well. Like Miss Marvel is just too convenient compared to Shaw, right? So I think
Yeah.
its ceiling of power is definitely higher than I mentioned earlier. And also, I think the second thing about Shaw is that, yeah, like you said, because the pre-nerf good Surfer that was like Werewolf plus a bunch of move stuff and like high
Yeah.
stated mid-range cards, right? Yeah, I was trying to fit like all that stuff, like the move Surfer stuff with the Shaw like buff stuff, and you realize that your deck is only 12 cards, and it's so hard to fit
Yes.
both engines perfectly. Like the ideal move Surfer one has like Cravens and like sometimes even Silks and like Spider-Man's Polaris and like I don't know, all those kind of stuff. But like to fit all that power in and still fit like Nova, Brute, Forge, Killmonger, like it's crazy. Like I don't think your deck has enough slots for all those kind of things. So
It doesn't.
I guess we have to figure out if the move Surfer version is better or the Wolf or the Shaw version is better, or is there a way to combine both? Currently I haven't found it yet, but I think only time will
Yeah.
tell.
Major changes to two staple cards, Luke Cage going to 2/3 and losing its universality. Now it only affects the lane that it's in. And Shadow King, I would say, rightfully losing a power, which honestly I don't think will impact it in any way. It's still going to be really good as long as green text is around. I usually talk about how costing 2 is a superpower And as long as Shadow King costs 2
Yes.
and there is green numbers on the board, Shadow King is still going to be absolutely phenomenal. Probably the best tech card in the game. And that doesn't seem likely to change in the future, especially now that Luke Cage, which was the counterblade to it, is gone.
Yeah, honestly, I think Shadow King is possibly just the best tech card in the game right now. Because, like you said, green
Yeah.
text. Green text is in almost every deck, right? Like literally almost every deck, except maybe Darkhawk. But like that's why Darkhawk runs Shadow King. But I mean, Shadow King is really just too convenient of a tech. It's so cheap, and like reducing its power by 1, but you get rid of Luke Cage's universal effect. It's like sure,
Yeah,
whatever.
you take that trade
Yeah, whatever.
every time.
Can you imagine
Every
it?
single time.
Can you imagine if like because Luke Cage now only targets 1 lane, right? So can you imagine if like Killmonger actually
Yep.
only kills 1 cost cards in 1 lane? That'll be like it's like the same. It's like okay, it's not the same, but it's like similar. But like
No, it's a 3/4 now.
yeah,
It's a 3/4 now. It's
still
fine.
gonna be
Yeah.
a 3/4. No, but Luke Cage is so difficult to use right now. Like I was just thinking about it, and I've seen some players actually still try to use the card. It's so difficult to use because Luke Cage used to be great because you can just plop it down on turn 2, don't really care where
Yeah.
you play it, right? And it will work. But now when your opponent sees the Luke Cage early, they're just like, oh, okay, that's not the lane that's gonna be like Shadow King. Then they just power all their yeah. So like
Yes.
it's a lot worse. It's way worse than people think. The +1 and the power is like honestly very insignificant. So yeah, Shadow King is just
I had someone go in.
yeah.
They played a Luke Cage on the middle. They had a Man Thing on the right lane.
Okay.
And the left lane, they did a Hazmat on Bar Sinister. And they just did not even
They didn't realize,
that Luke
right?
Cage didn't. Yeah, they had no idea
Yeah.
why they lost that game. Poor Luke Cage players.
Yeah. On that note, though, I speaking of Man Thing, I've seen like a little bit more Man Thing than the past. Maybe just people are just trying.
You've seen
it
a
out.
little bit more Man Thing than you used to.
Oh,
A little bit more Man Thing than you used to.
yeah. Just cause Luke Cage got nerfed. I don't think it's gonna be a prevalent thing, but you know who knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So move cards all got a fundamental rework, which is they no longer move unrevealed cards. I personally want to address one misconception that I've seen, and that is that people are saying that this is a nerf to specifically SpiderMan, and it absolutely is not. Knowing what your card is going to do is way, way, way better than the potential for it to blow them out by pulling an unrevealed card. Being able to say, I know my SpiderMan will do this, is so powerful, especially because in the move deck, you have like a Silk down early, you probably have priority, you actually get to know that. Like, SpiderMan is so much better for players who like think about and plan stuff now than he was previously. Like, I think this is a significant buff to SpiderMan just in terms of you know what he's going to do now, and being able to make those plans is critical to functioning as a Marvel Snap player. And making them easier for you to plan out is definitely a buff to Spider-Man, in my opinion.
Yeah, so just wanted to add to this very strong point, which I 100% agree. I think instead of just a complete side grade, I think it's like a side grade plus upgrade when it comes to Spider-Man. Because when I used to run the Silky Smooth deck, like back when it was good, right? A lot of my wins were like praying that my Spider-Man actually pulled the one card that I wanted and not some random face down card. So like now, like you said, because we have like more control as to what we pull. Like if there's 2 face up cards, it's a 50-50, right? It's not like one out of 4 like with 2 face down cards anymore. So like Spider-Man actually puts you in a more controlled position right now with its pulls, and obviously I think that is a very important thing to help you plan, right? Because you can't really plan well if there's too much uncertainty. So now the fact that it only pulls face up cards, like you reduce the uncertainty factor a little bit. And I think it's super important. On that note as well, I also want to talk a little bit about Aero. Like, if you guys don't even know, have you guys tried the card? Because like 5/9, firstly, that's the obvious one. That's the
5/9 good.
It's good. 5/9 good. But her effect, I think a lot of people don't even realize that you can actually pull a card that was played last turn. You can pull a card that was played on the previous turn, which is decently important as well. Because like I don't know why I can remember this very specific interaction, but like so many times in the last like 12 hours, I've seen people play like Wong. I don't know where the Wong is coming from, but they play Wong on 4. I'm just like, I've seen like more than 10 Wongs in the last 12 hours. I'm just like, what? So they play Wong.
Seen a lot of Wongs recently? A lot of Wongs and a lot of Man Thing? No, I'm done.
Wong. Okay. I didn't really get the Wong joke, but like, okay, I got the Man Thing one.
It sounds like Wang. I don't know.
Okay.
What do you want from me?
I think you're going too deep, right?
I'm not a comedian.
I know.
Right?
It's that was a bit too deep. That's a bit too deep. But like, anyway.
Oh, was it a bit too
Yeah,
deep?
I know.
Oh, was it
Okay, that one I knew when I said it. Went a bit. Okay. But yeah, okay, back to Arrow. Okay, so Arrow, it can pull a card that was played on the previous turn, also only face up card, of course. So like I've been messing around with Arrow a bit recently, and I realized that actually she's quite good, right? I think more for the fact that she's a 5/9 with an additional effect than like the fact that she's like pulling the card that was played on the previous turn or whatever. But like you guys should try Arrow out. Like I think it's actually decent.
One thing that people consistently underrate in evaluating cards is 1 point of power.
Yes.
Like, it is a big number. Like, people get like, what is, like, 1/8 is 12.5%, right? Arrow had 8 power. Now she has 9. That's 12.5% stronger. Like, that's not nothing. Like, it's a big number. It matters. Those numbers matter. And especially like the stat line 5/9 is just like kind of appealing to me.
Yeah.
Where it's like when I first saw this card, I was like, am I ever gonna run this over Legion in like a deck that would want Legion? And it's like maybe.
Yeah,
5/9.
yeah, 5/9,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, like 5/9 is nice.
I'm wondering if SD actually thought like this new Arrow effect was a strict nerf, because giving it 5/9 with this effect to me is like a buff actually. It's mainly because of
They
the
did.
5/9.
They thought it was a nerf to her effect, so they compensated with the power, which means they thought overall that it was a buff. Is my understanding of it. Like they compensate with the power for a slightly reduced effect, which like I actually don't know if it is a reduced
Yeah,
effect.
exactly.
If we're gonna be
It's a
100%
different
honest. Like
effect. It's just a different effect.
yeah. But they did think it was a nerf to her effect to the degree that they felt like they needed to give her the power, I think.
I'll take it.
And I think she might have just gotten a free power, maybe?
I'll take it. I will take
maybe
it.
a little bit like that. Let's talk about everyone's favorite purple fart cloud, Elith, who I think the funniest thing about him to me now is that Elith is going to have the most skewed played win rate stats of all time
100%.
because he just literally doesn't work if you're not ahead. And
Yes.
so you will only ever play him if you're like, yeah, I'm winning this game. I'm Elith braining all over them. And so like there's gonna be such insane like retreat versus win rate stats. Like when the card is played, it's gonna win so many games.
Yeah, like,
it's gonna have the most
Played
insane
win rate
It's gonna
80% or something.
Yes, it's gonna be like played win rate 80%, actual win rate like 52 or something like that. I think my real question is, do we think the actual win rate's gonna be 52?
I don't know, man. I mean, okay, so firstly, we need to mention the one thing, if you guys haven't noticed yet, right? Which is Elith now obliterates Invisible Woman. It obliterates Dark Dimension.
Yeah.
So basically what happens is
Yeah.
any unreviewed cards, it doesn't even have to be the card that's played on this turn itself, just any unreviewed cards just go boom in the Elith lane. So it's like specifically way better versus certain decks, like the Invisible Woman decks. And it's also like way worse versus like every other thing if you don't have initiative, right? So I think overall it's
That's way worse against everything.
overall it's a downgrade, right? In terms of like the overall scale of the card. Plus it became a 6/2. I feel like this card though, because if we were to play a priority based deck, I think we could still consider including Elith. Just because if we get so ahead in stats in the early game, this one is just an option to close out the game. Like you put it in the deck, you don't have to play it. You could just play your Doom and win, but like it's just an option in case you are so ahead, you know.
Like, that's the thing, though. It's like, I find it harder and harder to come up with situations where I'd rather have Elith than Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
And as those situations get more specific and more, like, especially weird, I think he becomes something much more similar to, like, this is a card that only goes in a Professor X deck now, maybe? Like, that's the kind of thing. He's no longer, like, your mid-range prio deck finisher because, like, what if you play the Elith and your opponent plays a Doom in a different lane and you just, like, completely die? And that's, I think we're reaching the point at which Doom will take over from him.
I agree.
As the like default mid-range card.
Agreed.
All right, so the former best deck was Loki, without real question. I think personally that I think it was closer between Loki, Darkhawk Bounce, and Darkhawk Miss Marvel than maybe you do. But I tend to think that there was like a very thin margin separating Loki from those lists by the time it really got down to the end of the last season. And I think that Loki, more than either of those decks, is hurt by the loss of America Chavez. Where are you at with everyone's least favorite mean green cloning machine?
I mean, I'm now burdened with glorious purpose. I just had to say that to talk about this. Cut, because to me it's actually serious glorious purpose. Okay, so I think I've spammed more Loki like on the ladder than most people, and also like in this new season I've played the card a lot. You are right in the fact that I am drawing Collector on 2 a lot less, I'm drawing Loki on 4 a lot less, I'm even drawing Werewolf on 3 a lot less, which is a big deal, right? So I think I think
Those are like the only 3 good cards in the deck.
yeah. I mean,
Like,
the Chavez lets you do that. I mean, the old Chavez lets you do that. But like,
Yeah.
so the thing is, Loki actually, I agree with you that actually it's not exactly a lot better as a deck than like what you mentioned, Dark Hawk Bounce or whatever. But like, it's because this is one of those decks that also abuses the bounce engine very, very well. Like the build I was playing with the
Yeah.
Falcon and the Beast, which is the same as the Dark Hawk bounce engine for the most part, right? And like
The
very
Beast definitely has to come back in now, I
yes,
think.
very
And,
similar one cost package as well. Very, very similar. So I feel like it's really just the bounce package plus X, with X being you play Loki or you play the
Yeah.
Hawk stuff. So that's why it's actually relatively close, right? But I think Loki still has the slight edge right now, simply because if you Loki on 4 or 5, you just dump out all the stats on that other turn. So that's probably way more stats than what Hawk Bounce can do. But that being said, because of the Chavez nerf, it happens less often right now, and I feel like we might need to run because with the Chavez slot being gone, I've been experimenting with actually playing Mirage again, because I might actually need like stats if I don't draw Wolf on 3, right? And don't draw Collector on 2.
Yeah.
I might need some stats.
Absolutely.
And I think
What is your current build?
it's basically the
your
same
current
one
build?
with like Shang and Rogue as the tag, which could really be anything. And then I changed Chavez for
Definitely.
Mirage. So yeah, it's really one of those decks that like if you don't draw your Collector, you don't draw your Wolf, or you don't draw your Loki, your deck is basically the bounce package and hoping Nico high rolls some good stuff, right?
The thing though is like your bounce package is worse because Darkhawk Bounce's bounce package has the hood in it.
Yes.
And yours doesn't.
So maybe
and
we
it's like
play the hood.
that's actually the thing that really gets to me about this, right? Like, because otherwise they are the same, but like one of these decks has the hood. Also, special shout out to like a Nihilus bounce, by the way, which I personally big fan of it right now. Actually, I think it's very competitive with the other two because there's just so little people actually doing things that answer it.
That's
like
true.
playing the card Sentry into a Nihilus is actually just like kind of unbeatable right now for various reasons. Like it's a big dude. But like specifically the gap is like I think they're mostly comparable except for the card the hood. And I almost wonder if we're supposed to play that in Loki now, because like I mean it is a card that puts stuff in your hand. It's just not the stuff you want to actually get rid of. But like the hood being that Beast Falcon target is a big reason why I would not necessarily give the edge to the Darkhawk stuff, but like it gets real dicey, I feel like.
Okay, so this is hilarious because I was lamenting yesterday about like how I'm trying to figure out so hard what's the 12 card in my Loki deck right now. But now that you mentioned the hood, I'm just like,
All right, we did
this
it.
makes a shitload of sense. Like,
Yeah.
I was just thinking about it as you said it. I'm like, okay, I don't really care about this -3 on the board if I'm like doing the broken stuff, and if I'm not doing the broken stuff, I'm bouncing the -3 back to my hand. So like,
Yep.
good call.
Well, make sure you credit me. I'm a genius deck builder.
I think that's actually a
demand all
really good
credit.
idea. Actually, like legitimately.
Yeah.
Right.
No, if you tweet it at me.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go.
In sadder news, it looks like Marvel Snap's leaderboard's a little broken. Lambi, you benefited from this last season when you didn't get reset at all. And then this season you got reset minus 1500 SP.
Yes.
Yeah, you got like obliterated.
Yeah.
And you ended up with like way less SP than everyone who finished below you. And it seems like it's more common now than it was. And I have no idea what or why it's happening, but something is wrong with the leaderboard. People are not getting properly reset. And I obviously, you know, like I don't like it.
Yeah,
like at least there's not prizes, I guess. I think we just should probably like mention like, hey, like leaderboard stuff, especially this season, is going to be a little bit weird because even if they properly reset those people, they're going to have like additional stacked up MMR. Like even if they get properly reset next time, it's like, okay, this is a bit of a tough ask for anyone who actually like came into the season having been properly reset to climb very high. I know last season Tanjo came in about where you are and got up all the way up to
10.1,
like 10,300 or so. And like that's an amazing climb. That was really impressive. And it just kind of didn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a lot of that. Well, I mean, it did matter. He finished like 2 or 3, right? It was very impressive. It was very good. But like there's going to be a lot of that this season. I worry about. I think it's just unfortunate that it happened. I thought they fixed it when it happened to you. And I'm honestly a little more annoyed by this than I probably should be. It's
Yeah.
like I don't get it. Why is it happening?
I mean, I expected. Okay, I didn't expect myself to drop this far down this reset, but like I knew that like my point total the previous month was like not normal as well, right? But this month there was
Yeah.
a lot more. I think, like you said, a lot more people that reset a little bit abnormally. Uh,
Yes.
I feel like
And I
this.
just like
Yeah, go.
it's like you can overlook it one time.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, it happened to one person or like two people.
Mm-hmm.
But when it happens to like half the top 50, it starts being like an actual issue.
Mm-hmm. Like I don't really know the technology or like the whatever behind like resetting all these kind of stuff, but like I think for them to like introduce potential rewards for ladder system, they have to fix this like ASAP, because like it's impossible to introduce a reward system for this, right, without resetting like everybody. Like at the end of the day, I think like it has to be like done properly, because like you said, if it's not, like it's just gonna carry over to the next month and carry over to the next month,
Yes.
and then it's like sometime maybe next month I'll reset at 10k again. Like who knows, right? Like like you never know. So like I mean the biggest one
Yeah.
was when I noticed this huge disparity was the previous month. Like the person that finished like rank 1 on Asia and I was 2, he
Yeah.
resetted like 1,000 points lower than me.
Yes.
And I was just like, wait. So okay, I think we need to
Yeah.
fix this, but how, I don't know. Just hope they do it soon.
It is an unfortunate state of affairs. That won't stop me from attempting to get rank 69, but honestly, if I don't like win the coin flip on not being reset, it's going to be kind of difficult to do.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. We'll see how it ends up going. Lambi, are you going to push for 1 even from your down position?
I will try though, because like I got very close to, like I got in top 10 the first season, like not the previous one, the first season. So I think it's doable again. It's just that of course I sacrificed a lot of my conquest time, so I'm lacking a lot of infinity borders as well. So like yeah.
Oh god,
balance.
no, your infinity borders.
Yeah, I have like
40
almost
isn't enough.
30 by the way. All right, anyway.
I basically almost entirely stopped playing Conquest except like the test stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I haven't completed an Infinity Conquest in like 2 months.
Yikes.
Like,
washed.
Washed. No, I only tried one
I know.
last month. It was just like there. It's like, oh well, damn. I didn't finish my one shot. I ended up resetting with like 5 Infinity tickets.
Oh,
still there, and
no.
like 10 golds, and
Oh
it's just like, oh,
no. All that
fine.
valuable boosters you could have had.
Yeah, I got 310 sunspot boosters. It was sick. Lambi was absent for the previous episode of the show because he was in Taiwan. Lambi, you had a great time. Tell us about it.
Right, so this post is firstly just to say that Bings, you can come back anytime, it'll be fun. But at the same time, I also want to say I had such a great time in Taiwan, because firstly, thank you Marvel Snap Taiwan for inviting me down to cast the event in Chinese. By the way, first time ever. Wow, I was kind of shocked, but we winged it and we did it. This is more of like a thank you post than an actual topic, which is like when I went down there, I realized like the power of like the fans, like people down there in Taiwan, they really cheered for the players that they love, like their teams. They cheered super hard. They were so passionate about like the game and like the plays that players play. Like they made good plays, the crowd went wild. They made bad plays, the crowd was like, oh no, that kind of thing. But like it's it's very evident. Like they were very like hyped about everything, and the energy was great. I think one thing I want to highlight is that Taiwan did a team league, which is basically they have like a league system whereby by teams play every week, and then they get a point system. It's like literally like a league, like a football league or whatever. And then
like the Premier League.
Literally that. So I was talking to like some of their players, and like they were very open to like having like international teams join them for their event as well. So I don't know if it's gonna happen, but like I'm really hoping that they open up some international slots, and then we can like play with like the Taiwanese teams and like get the hype rolling, because I think Marvel Snap's competitive scene right now is like, as I think you also know, it's like an all-time low right now. It's like there's not much like competitions even in the third party scene right now. It's like really almost none. So I think like being able to be a part of this kind of league system like would drive hype, like especially if it's streamed and stuff like that. So yeah, I really do hope that more attention will be placed on like getting more like these kind of competitions going. But of course, nothing official in the works yet, but I really do hope something can be done about it.
Spectator client
For
when?
sure.
As always, that is my battle cry. Spectator client when. All right, y'all. that's going to be it for this episode of 8 Cubes. I hope you enjoyed the return of Lambi series, the #1 ranked player in Marvel Snap. Thank you so much from me, KMBest, the 69th ranked player in Marvel Snap. I, as always, greatly appreciate you. Lambi, take us out.
And with that, thank you so much for being here, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one in KM's channel. Bye bye.